There's a question most people avoid asking themselves directly, not because they do not care about the answer, but because they are not entirely sure they want to know it. The question is simple. If you stopped working tomorrow, not by choice, not by plan, but simply because the option to continue disappeared, how long would you last? Not comfortably, not ideally, just last. How many months before the structure of your daily life began to visibly strain under the weight of no incoming income? Most people who sit honestly with that question discover the answer is far shorter than they expected. And that discovery, quiet and private as it usually is the beginning of the most important financial conversation most people never have with themselves. My name is Anderson, and today I want to talk about a number. Not the number you wish you had, not the number financial magazines tell you that you need. The number the average American actually arrives at retirement with. Because that number tells a story that most financial content is too polished and too optimistic to tell, honestly. And understanding it, really understanding what it means and how it happens, is the first step toward making sure it does not become your story. Here is what most people believe about retirement savings. They believe the people who end up financially unprepared in retirement are simply irresponsible. They did not save. They spent carelessly. They made obvious mistakes that anyone paying attention could have avoided. That belief is comfortable because it implies that responsible, hardworking people are automatically protected. Here is the contrarian truth. The average American reaches retirement age with somewhere between $65,000 and $87,000 in savings. Not because they were irresponsible, not because they did not work hard, but because the system that was supposed to prepare them, the cultural script around income, spending, lifestyle, and retirement was fundamentally broken in ways that looked completely normal from the inside. The failure was not dramatic. It was gradual, invisible, and almost entirely structural. And the people it happened to did not see it coming until it was too late to fully reverse. Think about what that number actually means in practical terms. $87,000, withdrawn at the standard 4% annual rate that financial planners use as a sustainable baseline, produces $3,480 per year. That is $290 per month from a lifetime of savings. Add an average Social Security benefit of roughly $22,000 annually, and that retiree is working with approximately $25,000 per year to cover every expense their life requires: housing, healthcare, food, transportation, and every unexpected cost that retirement reliably produces. That is not a comfortable margin. That is a tightrope. And the people walking it are not there because they failed in any obvious way. They are there because nobody showed them clearly enough, early enough, where the path they were on was actually leading. Here is the invisible threshold that separates the people who arrive at retirement with options from the people who arrive with constraints. It is not a specific dollar amount, though dollars matter. It is the moment a person transitions from saving whatever is left over after spending to spending whatever is left over after saving. That transition sounds semantic. It is not. It is the single most structurally significant behavioral shift in personal finance. Before it happens, savings is a variable. It fluctuates with circumstances, with desires, with the natural expansion of lifestyle that follows every income increase. After it happens, savings is a constant. It is the first obligation, not the last. And once savings becomes a constant, compounding takes over the work. Not immediately, not dramatically, but with a quiet, gathering force that over 20 or 30 years produces outcomes that feel wildly disproportionate to the effort involved. The threshold is a decision. A single, unremarkable decision that most people keep meaning to make and never quite get around to. Before that decision is made, financial life has a specific texture that is worth describing honestly. Every month feels productive in a surface-level way. Income arrives, bills get paid, life continues. But underneath the surface, the net position barely moves. The savings account exists, but it does not grow in any meaningful direction because it is perpetually available and perpetually being drawn on. The investment account, if it exists at all, feels distant and somewhat theoretical, something to get serious about when things settle down, when the income increases, when there is more breathing room. Meanwhile, the expenses quietly expand to fill whatever space the income creates. A raise produces a slightly nicer car, a slightly larger apartment, a slightly more expensive version of the same life. The gap between income and genuine wealth building stays constant regardless of what the income does. That is the structure of financial stagnation. It does not feel like stagnation from inside it. It feels normal. After the decision is made after saving becomes the first allocation rather than the last, something begins to change that is invisible in the short term and overwhelming in the long term. The monthly amount directed to a growing investment account is not dramatic. Perhaps $200, perhaps $300, perhaps $500 if discipline is strong and income permits. Month by month, the change feels negligible, but something is happening beneath the surface that daily life cannot detect. Compounding is beginning, slowly at first, then with accelerating momentum. The account that took 3 years to reach $10,000 takes only 18 months to go from $10,000 to $20,000. The account that took a decade to reach $50,000 reaches $100,000 in 5 years. The mathematics of compounding does not care about your emotions or your impatience. It cares only about time and consistency. Give it both, and it becomes the most powerful financial force available to an ordinary person living an ordinary life. Consider the numbers plainly. A 31-year-old who begins directing $300 monthly into a diversified index fund, earning an average of 7% annually, will have approximately $810,000 at 65. $300 per month, 34 years, no windfalls, no dramatic salary increases required, no sophisticated investment strategy needed. Just consistency applied to a realistic starting point over a sufficient horizon. Now consider the person who begins the same behavior at 44, same $300 monthly, same 7% return. By 65, they have approximately $175,000. The difference, $635,000, was not produced by discipline or intelligence or income. It was produced entirely by 13 years of time that compounding could not recover once it was gone. The average retiree with $87,000 in savings did not make one catastrophic mistake. They made the small, invisible mistake of starting too late or never truly starting at all. Something changes in your identity when you have been consistently building for long enough to see the system working. You stop identifying as someone who is trying to save money and start identifying as someone who owns a growing financial system. That distinction matters more than it sounds. The person who is trying to save is always one difficult month away from stopping. The person who owns a system treats the monthly contribution the way they treat a utility bill, not optional, not negotiable, simply part of the structure of their life. That shift from trying to owning is where financial self-trust is built, and financial self-trust, once genuinely established, changes the quality of every subsequent decision. You stop making choices from anxiety and start making them from a place of demonstrated competence. You have proven to yourself that you can maintain a long-term commitment in the face of short-term pressure. That proof is worth more than most people realize. The same financial disruptions register entirely differently depending on which side of this divide you are standing on. A major car repair arrives unexpectedly. For the person without a system, the person whose savings account is perpetually thin because it has never been protected from their own spending, this is a genuine crisis requiring debt or painful sacrifice. For the person who built a system years ago and maintained it, the same repair is an inconvenient expense drawn from a dedicated emergency reserve that exists specifically for this purpose. The investment account is untouched. The monthly contribution continues. The system absorbs the disruption without structural damage. That resilience is not luck. It is the direct, compounding return on a decision made years before the repair ever happened. Once a genuine financial system is running, the decisions that deserve your best attention are not small ones. They are the decisions that shape decades. Whether the home you are living in is genuinely the right financial structure for this phase of your life, or whether it is consuming resources that your future self will desperately need. Whether the career path you are on is building the skills and income trajectory that will serve the next 20 years, or simply maintaining the comfort of the familiar. Whether the way you are thinking about healthcare costs a category that grows reliably and significantly in retirement is being taken seriously now while there is still time to prepare for it. These are the questions worth genuine strategic attention. The daily spending decisions are largely noise by comparison. The professional leverage that accompanies genuine financial foundation is one of the most underappreciated benefits of building early and consistently. When a person has a growing investment account, a funded emergency reserve, and a clear financial system running underneath their income, their relationship with their own career changes fundamentally. They evaluate opportunities based on alignment and growth rather than on desperate need. They negotiate from a position of genuine confidence rather than from the quiet anxiety of someone who cannot afford to walk away. They make career transitions toward better environments, better compensation, better long-term trajectories that the person without a financial foundation cannot afford to risk. That career leverage compounds over time in ways that amplify the financial system itself. The foundation enables confidence. The confidence produces better professional outcomes. Better professional outcomes strengthen the foundation. Here is where I need to say something that matters, and that is easy to miss. The moment your financial system begins producing visible results is precisely the moment it becomes most vulnerable. Because visible results feel like rewards, and rewards feel like permission. The investment account crossing $50,000 does not mean it is time to take on a car payment that strains the monthly budget. The portfolio approaching $100,000 is not a signal that the lifestyle can now expand to match the income increase that just arrived. Every expansion of fixed monthly obligations at this stage raises the floor of what you require to maintain your life, which directly increases your exposure to any disruption that threatens your income. The system is not a reward for past discipline. It is the infrastructure for future freedom. Treat it accordingly. Every significant spending decision made during the years when your system is building carries an opportunity cost that will be felt most acutely at the exact moment you can least afford it in retirement, when the ability to recover from financial mistakes is severely limited by the absence of earned income. A $45,000 vehicle upgrade that adds $500 to the monthly outflow is not merely a transportation decision. It is a reduction in the monthly investment capacity that was building the foundation retirement depends on. That is not an argument for living without comfort or pleasure. It is an argument for making the trade consciously, with full clarity about what is actually being exchanged and what that exchange costs across time. The average retiree with $87,000 did not plan to arrive there. Nobody does. They arrived there through the quiet accumulation of years of financial default, years of spending first and saving what remained, years of treating lifestyle expansion as the natural reward for income growth, years of meaning to get serious about retirement savings when things settled down. Things never settled down. They rarely do. The time to build the system is not when it feels easy. It is now, while the years ahead still have enough length to let compounding do what only time can do. My name is Anderson. The average outcome is not your destiny. It is a warning, a clear, data-supported description of where the default path leads. You are not on the default path because you are watching this. You are on the path of people who pay attention, who ask the hard questions early enough to act on the answers, and who build deliberately rather than drift hopefully. Your future self is somewhere ahead of you, living in the retirement your current decisions are quietly constructing. Build it with intention, protect it with discipline, and one day, in the ordinary quiet of a retirement morning, you will feel the deep, unhurried peace of someone who designed their future rather than simply hoping it would work out. Thanks for listening. I will see you in the next video.